Hello everyone. I hope you can see me at the bottom corner, can hear me clearly as well as see the presentation. So just reply back in the chat if everything is good from my side so that I know things are good and I can start in a minute. Hmm. Good evening to everyone. So just confirm if things are good. You can hear me, see the presentation. So lot of good evening. Thank you, Mandip. Thanks a lot. Finally someone heard me. My pain, my crying was finally heard by someone. Thanks a lot. Right, so before we start, it'll be great if you just drop a one-liner, which is basically to introduce yourself. Like, you are planning to take IELTS for what purpose? Higher studies, migration, job, anything, so that I know the audience that I have. Like, planning to go for masters, PhD, or bachelor's versus planning to go for immigration purpose, work, PR purpose, etc. So that I know the audience that I have. So I get to know a little bit more and I try to concentrate on certain things which would make a little bit sense as per the conditions, right? Wherever we're talking about. So please do that. It's always the starting problem. Someone has to post it, then people. So in this, the event that we're doing, we do not let you talk basically because of the streaming event, but just make it a little bit more engaging by posting in the chat. I would try to keep it a little bit entertaining. That's something I'll try to do. But then obviously this is not an entertainment session, more of a knowledge session. But let's keep it in a way where it's fun for us, right? At the end of the session, I hope you will not, or ideally, you should not feel bored, and also feel that you got something valuable out of it. So it's good to listen to something with a smile on your face and be a little bit engaging. Thanks a lot. What is this PLAB? Sai Atri for migration. Chris Kizelian. Great. What about others? Don't worry, keep posting. Right. I might offer you something interesting at the end if you really engage. There's an interesting update that I'll give somewhere in between the session, which I think will be useful. Higher studies, immigration purpose, higher studies, great. Come on, we have 40 people around now. Few more answers will do a good job. Yes, job, higher studies, great. Right. So couple more before I start. Just two more. Great. Thank you, Celine. Looking forward to see a good engagement from my students as well as the people who are there. Okay. Okay, Sai, I didn't know this. PLAB is a PG exam to study MS in UK. For maybe certain specific domains, it is there. I'm sorry, I've not heard about it. Great. Great, guys. So let's start. So I'll just introduce myself first to give you, before I talk for an entire 40 minutes, 45 minutes and answer your questions. So my name is Jaideep. I'm one of the founders of this company called GT Cube. So I did my engineering from BITS Pilani and then MBA from IIM. I worked as a consultant, a management consultant for a couple of years. Then I quit to start this education company along with my friends. So we are trying to work on a lot of things for MBA students, the exam preparation market, as well as upskilling, etc. But right now, for this session, we're going to talk about the IELTS. So the two more friends of mine who have joined me in this journey, Madhav and Bulpi, are also very passionate about education, and you can see our scores in exams like CAT, GRE, GMAT. So we have been helping students over the last 4-5 years. So that's how we have started this journey. And then we have a nice IELTS trainer, Megha. She's a very experienced trainer who has helped thousands of students till now. And so that's what about. So let's get into the agenda of the webinar, right? What exactly are we going to talk about in this session today? So it will be approximately 40-45 minutes. I'll try to keep it. Then I'll keep the floor open for you to ask me questions. The questions could be on IELTS, the TOEFL, or other exams. Could be on GRE, GMAT, could be on masters, PhD in particular countries, the admission criteria. If there is something that I can add value, I would definitely contribute. If I do not know it, I'll let you know. But more or less, if I have something to answer, I'll definitely answer with whatever I can. Immigration is not my cup of tea. I have not really guided a lot of students. I have a little bit of idea on this, but maybe certain specific questions I would tell you some guidance, but rather it has to be taken with a bit of salt, pinch of salt rather. So it's in YouTube, Solomon. So you can just come to YouTube and check, and you can watch this. What are we going to do in the today's webinar, right? First thing, a very important question that I'll try to answer, or rather give you a sense so that you can answer for yourself. Should you take IELTS exam or not? So what is my goal, or what is my next step that I want to do in life, and how exactly would IELTS fit in that? So if it is a requirement, then and only then you should take it, right? So we're gonna tell you how you can figure that out. The second step is a very standard question that we keep getting from the students, that these are the top three are the famous ELPs, English Language Proficiency Tests, IELTS, TOEFL and PTE. So I'm going to talk about the differences between them, and I'm going to give a verdict based on our experience of what suits you, for what purpose you're going for, or you're applying for, and what suits you. Right? Then the IELTS academic and general training, a very important thing for you to understand what is the exam that I need to take if I am taking IELTS exam. Then we're going to go into the very important thing, the exam pattern. So the 4 modules: listening, reading, writing and speaking. What type of questions do I get, how do they test, and how hard is it, or how should I work upon them, like how does the scoring system work, etc, etc. Then a very important pertinent question that we keep thinking about getting: can I prepare for IELTS on my own? Should I take any support? Can I do on my own? So we're going to discuss on that briefly. Then we are going to talk about the preparation resources, like what are the available material that you can use to support your own preparation, etc. Then I'm going to take up 3 FAQs, the frequently asked questions. Number 1, the British Council versus IDP. If you have not heard about them, don't worry. If by chance you have heard, I'm just putting out these questions because some people keep asking us in between the session, so we thought let's keep it to the end. Don't worry, you'll get the answer. So IDP versus British Council, which one is easier, which one should I take? Number 2, the computer based versus paper based, which one should I take? Again, the last one is the IELTS indicator test, which they have started very recently in the COVID. We are going to briefly touch upon it and see what's our take on it. Should you go for it, or should you do the normal IELTS test, etc. As I said at the end of it, so this entire thing I'll try to wrap it up in 40-45 minutes. If you have any questions in between, you keep posting them. If I find them to be a relevant thing at that point of time, then I would definitely try to take it up then and there. If not, I would definitely keep it to the end. As long as it makes sense in the context of the situation we are in, I would definitely answer all the questions. If I do not know an answer, I would also tell you that, and maybe if there's something I can add value, I will definitely do that. So what I would ask you is maintain some patience, trust in this session process, that I would definitely not walk out of this before answering this question. So just maintain some a little bit of patience in the session. That's what I would say. Then we will definitely go to Q&A and answer all and each and every question of yours. Right, so let's start the session. The first question, as I said, should you take IELTS? So let's first understand what is IELTS. Right, so the full form for it, it's called International English Language Testing System. So fundamentally, this test measures the language proficiency of people who wants to study or work where English is the language, right? It could be any country. If English is the primary language, they want to test your proficiency in that. The IELTS scoring is done on a band of 1 to 9, 0 to 9, 1 to 9, though we don't see ones and zeros generally. 3, 4, 5 is like a basic thing you see. 9 is the highest and 1 is the least. IELTS is available at more than 1600 locations, a lot of countries across the world. But what is most important is this, that IELTS is the most widely accepted ELP, as I said, English Language Proficiency Test. There are a lot of tests for the same purpose, to check your English ability. There are exams like TOEFL, PTE, CELT, right? There are a lot more. Duolingo has recently come up, a company with the English language proficiency test. So a lot of companies do that. So this is one of the tests, but this is the most widely accepted. It is accepted by almost 11,000 organizations and universities across 145 countries. Right? This is what the official website has claimed. TOEFL is slightly closer to it. Then PTE is way behind it, like somewhere 4,000 or something. TOEFL is close to 9-10,000. But still, the widely accepted one is IELTS across the world. So, should you take IELTS? That's, as I said, the important question that I would help you to answer, right? By now, most of you would already know the answer, but because we get some students who says that I want to do it some masters in India, I want to do something in a particular country. If IELTS is not a requirement, it doesn't make sense for you to look at that. So we thought, let's first clarify that. If you are a student who is planning to pursue higher studies in foreign countries like USA, UK, Canada, Australia, Germany, and European countries like Switzerland, France, Italy, Sweden, Denmark, etc., etc., so then IELTS is most probably asked by the universities, right? There are few universities in UK, for example, which say that you can apply if you have your 10th and 12th and undergrad in English and you have scored like 60%, 80%, etc., etc. But I'll tell you, if you actually want to just skip this exam, you will be in a very bad shape with respect to your overall profile for two reasons. Number one, IELTS has the power to actually boost your profile. If you get a good score, it can indeed get you into a better universities. I'm not saying it will, just because you get 9 out of 9 you'll get everything in the world, but the better the score, the better the chances. Number two, for example, in the case of UK, they made it mandatory. They are making it mandatory. By next few months the rules will come where they're asking a student for the visa purpose that they need to take an English proficiency test. So even if university gives you an admit without ELP test like IELTS, you would be asked by the embassy officer. So technically you still need to take it. So the best advice is that do a bit of research and take the path which will maximize your chances, not the easiest path, which might not be the best path. So if answer is just I am planning to go for my bachelor's, a master's, or PhD in one of these countries, then I think you can check the university website. They will write that you would need to take one of the exams and IELTS is the accepted one. Then you might be the second category, which is basically you're a person who's trying to go for a work purpose, right? Find a job, settle down there with a PR, and then hopefully get a citizenship, etc., etc. So if you're planning to migrate to a foreign country where English is the primary communication, so IELTS is asked by companies and even for the embassy, the PR purpose like Canada, Australia, etc. So it's accepted by countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, UK for its PR application. So technically companies are asking for it, as well as the countries for their PR purpose are also asking. So people do have to take IELTS for that purpose. So if you do not belong to these categories, right, maybe if you're looking at something else and you believe IELTS could help, I want you to rethink and understand, do a little bit more research. These are the broad use cases why people look at IELTS, especially if you want to be in India and do something. I don't see any purpose of or any point in taking this exam, right? I just want to clarify this. The next one is about the comparison, as I said. So I don't want to get into too deep into this. I would try to just highlight the differences. So IELTS is the only exam which has this option of taking it on paper. The rest of the exams are all computer based. Even IELTS has a computer based, but TOEFL and PT only have computer based tests. The speaking format is something that you see in IELTS where you have to do it to a person. That is, in the speaking round, even if it's like a computer based, you will be doing it through a video conferencing tool. If it's a physical one, obviously you would be doing it against a physical examiner. Whereas the TOEFL and PT, you are supposed to talk into the mic. You record the answers, right? I'll talk about that a little bit deeper when I discuss the format. But yeah, that's something you don't do with a person. So some people like to talk into the computer. They don't feel nervous. They feel very comfortable to talk into that. Versus some people really like to make a communication with a human being. So you have to understand what suits you and say which fits better for you. And some people really love to do paper based. Read some stuff, underline things. It does not strain your eyes. You can happily read through the entire booklet and try to answer the questions, etc., etc. But some people are very comfortable with the computer. They prefer the advantage they get with the computer. Some people might prefer computer based. So again, it's a choice that you have to understand based on your thing. The duration is more or less the same. The cost is also more or less the same. The scoring bands are different, that you get from 0 to 9 or 0 to 120, 0 to 90, but I would say it doesn't matter. Why? Because ultimately when you apply for a university, let's say they say that if you have a 6.5 in IELTS, that's a bare minimum cutoff I'm asking, or maybe 7 some universities ask, for example. For that corresponding TOEFL score would be like, let's say 90 or 99. They put it something like that, right? So the thing is, ultimately they know which score equates to what across the exams, and they would put a cutoff in that range. So you have 6.5 to 7, have a 90 to 99, something like that. So for PT you should have something like 70 or 65 to 70, something like it. So don't worry about the scores, but ultimately what matters is what your conditions and your criteria, accordingly what is the cutoff. So the sections that you see are the same 4 modules: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. But there is a difference that you observe in these 2 exams, which is we have something called integrated tasks. What do I mean by that? Integrated task means For example, in TOEFL and PT, you'll have things like you need to read a short paragraph and write a summary of it, or maybe answer to a particular question. So it's an essay answer. You'll be writing 4 or 5 lines as an answer for that particular question. And they would ask something as a question and ask you to speak it into the mic again. So first of all, if you did not understand the passage, you are not going to write a good answer. Even if your writing skills are good, you are not going to do good in your speaking, because even if your speaking skills are good, you did not understand the passage. So there's a link between your reading skills, writing skills, and speaking skills in this particular task. That's why they're called integrated, a mix of multiple attributes. When you look at the IELTS, they make sure that all the 4 modules are separate and they don't mingle it. So you don't see any integrated tasks. So some students really find it, an advantage or an easier thing. But if you ask me, if you are fundamentally good with your skill set in language, I don't see much of a difference, right? It's more or less, it's a good thing. You can do either of it. But as I said, some students find some issues with the integrated task. So that way IELTS is slightly relatively perceived to be easier. Validity, it's the same, 2 years, 2 years, and 2 years, not much of a difference. And the score report comes pretty much within 5 days, 6 days for all of them if you take computer based. The paper based in IELTS will take you 2 weeks. So that's slightly longer duration if you take a paper based exam. So now what is our verdict, right? Rather, what is our take on this? So which one should I take? It all depends on what's your goal, where do you want to go, and what do you want to apply for. If you are a student who is applying to US for your masters, I would say you can look at one of these 2 exams, TOEFL or IELTS. And I would also go ahead and tell you that if there are 100 universities you pick randomly in US, 98 to 99 universities would accept IELTS as the exam criteria. 100 out of 100 will accept TOEFL. You would not find an university in US which would say I don't accept TOEFL, right? So in a way, I would say if you're very sure of going only for US, TOEFL could be a good option. But then again, as I said, maybe IELTS is an exam that you feel more comfortable with. Then you have to think which one suits you. There are few universities which accept TOEFL but not IELTS. One of the example that comes out of my mind is Stanford. Right, like top universities, especially we observe this more in the top Ivy League universities and top of the top 50. But more or less, if you say that you're planning to go to US, maybe there's a merit in looking at TOEFL, or maybe you can look at IELTS. But one of these 2 will be what you need to look at. If you're going for UK, there's no question, you need to look at IELTS only. That's the exam that they look for, universities. TOEFL is also accepted, but the acceptance is less. It's not there in all the universities. It's better to go for this. Also, as I said, embassy is also asking for English proficiency. It also helps you with IELTS. Again, for Canada, no discussion, IELTS is the best thing. Even for the PR Canada migration purpose, right? Even for UK migration purpose, IELTS is the thing which works very well for your application process. And I'll tell you, for Canada PR, the recommendation is at least get a 7.5, right? Overall band of 7.5 in IELTS. For Australia, PT and IELTS, both the exams would do your job. Both of them are fine. They're equally accepted, and PT has slight edge in Australia, to be frank, especially for the migration purpose. There are some people who believe the PT is easier to score. For example, if you ask me for migration score of Australia, if you get 8 in IELTS, it's equivalent to getting 79 to 82 in PTE. Okay, so some people feel that it's difficult to get 8 overall and get 8 bands in a lot of sections. Relatively, it's much easier to do here. Relatively, I'm not saying it's going to be a cakewalk, but relatively. But again, I tell you, it's a personal thing. Everyone has their opinion. For a PR purpose, I think you won't go wrong with either of the options. And for PT is something people do prefer a little bit more in terms of percentage of attempts and all. So maybe it's a choice. You need to look at both the exams and understand what suits you better. For academic, again, both of them would do a job equally good, and IELTS is not anywhere behind in that aspect. And if you're talking about Europe, I think again IELTS is the most widely accepted, Germany and other countries. And the best part about IELTS is that if you want to take or apply for multiple countries, let's say you're not clear whether you want to go for US or UK, or you're open to go for good universities in multiple countries, one exam that can solve your problem would be IELTS. The most widely accepted across the countries is IELTS. So let's say you're applying for Australia alone, maybe PT will do the job. If you're open to apply to both these countries, there's a disadvantage if you take PT because the acceptance is less, with respect to the UK universities. So for that reason, if you're open to do multiple countries, I think IELTS is the thing that you need to look at. Otherwise, US, I think TOEFL or IELTS, TOEFL has the advantage. In Australia, PT or IELTS, you can take one of them depending on what suits you. Right, now let's move to the next topic, which is the academic versus the general training, right? So this is a very, very important thing for you to understand. I'll not spend more than a minute, but very key point you need to keep in your mind, which is the exam that I need to take. If you are a person who is trying to apply for universities, for your bachelor's, for your master's, for your PhD, you need to take academic tests. As simple as it. Though you are going there for a purpose of getting a job, your goal is to finally get a job and settle down. Don't think that general training is what you need to take. It is the academic test. If you are applying for any university for admission, they would ask for academic test only. Doesn't matter what you get in general training, they would not count the score. So it's useless for you to even take that. Right? Academic test is for people who are applying for higher education in English speaking environment. You need to take this test. If your purpose is to go for work directly, right, you want to get a PR, you want to get a job, and you want to apply for companies, they will ask you, okay, they have checked your technical skill sets or some other skills. Some companies will ask you for your English proficiency, and one of the tests is IELTS. There they would ask you for your IELTS general training score. So here you need to take general training. Again, academic test will not be a right thing to take. So you need to understand which test you have to take, what's your purpose. Pretty straightforward, black and white, no confusion, but still I see some students having a little bit of confusion in this, because the cost of the exam is almost 14,000, 15,000, right? If you go wrong with one exam, it's like you have to reattempt it, which is technically a lot of waste and a lot of time, a lot of effort, though the tests are pretty much the same in more or less. So preparation would work out for both, but definitely you have to understand that you're wasting your money if you're not clear. So that's a very simple thing. Studies is your goal, immediately go for academic. You are going to go for work or immigration purpose, immediately then go for the general training. Simple. So what is the pattern of this exam, right? So what do they check in this particular exam? So let's get into that. So there are 4 modules, as I said. The first module is the listening module. So the listening module is basically you will be getting 4 audio clips, part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4. So what kind of audio clips? They're telling you a conversation between 2 people set in everyday social context. For example, you would be listening to a 5 to 6 minute audio clip on average, where a person is calling a gym to understand the subscription features, the trainers availability, the times, the available facilities, etc, etc. So you would be listening to that, and then you're supposed to write the answers for the questions. So what kind of questions do they ask? There are almost 9 to 11 types of questions. You see, multiple choice, matching, plan, map, diagram, labeling, etc, etc. More or less, they are not really that hard. It's just that you need to get hang of these types so that you optimize your performance. So just a little bit more practice and figuring out your weak areas would do, but still you need to definitely get used to these types. So you will be listening to the audio clip. They will ask you questions like, okay, let's say you're talking to a guy for gym subscription. You say, hey, what's the name of the trainer that you have, right? They'll say, here's Helen Broom. So okay, can you spell his name? They say it's Helen and Broom. So then they'll put a blank in the question. They'll ask you, what's the name of the trainer? They'll give the Broom also. Then maybe you just write Helen, so that you get it right, right? So names, the times, some basic information that you're supposed to listen and process. Where is the address? It's 19th Street, Brooklyn. Then you just have to write them out, etc, etc. But spellings also matter, right? Caps also matters, the hyphens also matter, the punctuation matters, so you have to be very careful in certain things. The second part is a monologue in setup in like a speech in local facilities, etc. Like for example, a counselor talking to the students in a university saying that we have some facilities in this, or a librarian talking about library facilities. It's a monologue, means only one person will talk. The third type is conversation up to 4 people, 2 people, 3 people, or 4 people sitting, talking in some group discussion or something that's happening. You're supposed to understand and answer it. The last one is again a monologue, but then it's on a complicated subject like a university lecture, etc. If you see this, the difficulty keeps increasing, easiest to the hardest, right? As you move to the next section in the 4 parts, they'll make sure that the complications keep adding. So that's how they'll set it up. And the recordings will be like native English speakers. When I say that, it could be a British, it could be an American, it could be an Australian. So you just have to get used to it, but it won't be heavy accent or heavy slang. You don't have to worry about it. If you're someone who can understand maybe like an English commentary, a cricket, a football or something, where you have a little bit more proper English, right? Unlike in a foreign movie that you see, an English movie, don't get confused that that is the correct English. They have a lot of slangs that they add into it. So if you can actually get through some of the BBC news, or maybe for example the cricket commentary I'm talking about, international commentary, I think you will be doing fine with this. Again, you can check some of these audio clips also yourself to understand. There will be 40 questions, no negative marking in IELTS, not in this section. In any section you don't have any negative marking. You can happily write it. 30 minutes is the overall time they give you for this section. If you are taking a paper based test, they'll give you additional 10 minutes where you can transfer your answers from rough sheet to the answer booklet, where you have to fill this blanks, right? For example, these answers. So you can transfer it. In a computer based, you won't get this time. You will be given 30 plus 30, half minute, 30 seconds and all here and there. The questions will be like, look at the questions 1 to 4 before the audio clip starts, and then they give you 30 seconds. After you have listened to the clip, you have answered it, they'll tell you, we'll give you another 30 seconds to check your answers, and then we'll move to the next clip. You cannot repeat the audio clips. You're supposed to focus a lot. The concentration is very important and practice is required for that. Right? So 1 mark each question. So 40 questions, 40 marks. That's how the listening thing works. So how do they convert my score into a band? You said 1 to 9 is the scoring system, but there are 40 questions. How do they convert? This is the chart they use. This is the official chart, but they have missed a few things. I'll tell you. Like if you get 39 or 40 out of 40 correct, you will be getting a 9 band. If you get 37 or 38 correct, you will be getting a 8.5 band. If you get 35 or 36 correct, you will be getting a 8. So every two questions you are getting a band, right? 8, 8.5, 9, 7.57, etc. So that's how you move. As you go further, you'll have a much of a disparity, but more or less this is a good sign you can understand. Right? Ideally, listening is the easiest. You should be looking at least at 7 and above. Right? You should be looking at this zone. So that's how the conversion would happen. Based on the number of questions you get correct, they'll convert it. The next section is the academic. So the listening part is same for academic in general. Okay, either you take academic test or general test, on that particular day you'll get the same listening. The reading is different for academic and general. So what do you get in academic? You'll be getting 3 passages. Generally there'll be long passages like 800 words, 700, 800 words, relatively difficult read. There will be 40 questions. Generally it will be 13 questions plus 13 questions plus 14 questions, right? It's a combination of 40 questions in 3 passages. There are almost maybe 14-15 types of questions using multiple choice, identifying information, different types of questions they would test in reading. But ultimate goal is read the passage, comprehend the things and answer the given questions. That's it. But then you have to get used to the type so that you optimize your performance. Again, practice is required for this. This is what you get. But what makes academic reading harder is that they pick it from a quality material like research papers, journals, magazines, newspapers like Economist, Wall Street Journal Asia, New York Times, etc. Difficulty wise, which are not that easy for an average reader. So you need to get used to the complexity of the sentences as well as the vocabulary used, plus the topics that they pick. They pick psychology, philosophy, history, arts, literature, maybe science, technology. So you need to get used to different types so that you don't find it too hard. Right? Again, 1 mark for each question, 40 questions, no negative marking. So based on which how many you get correct, you'll be getting the marks. When it comes to general training reading, it will be much easier in terms of the reading material that you will get. So there are 3 sections, but it will be more like 5 to 6 passages, like short passages. The passages would look like this. Okay, the first section, which includes 2 to 3 short texts, right, will be like social skills. That is, can this guy survive once he settles down in the country? Like talk about, can this person read notices, advertisements, timetables, like you went to a railway station? Can you process the information that is being put up in the chart? If you purchased a washing machine, can you understand the manual that's being given? So that's what they try to test. Right, I'm sorry. When it comes to the second section, the workplace survival, test your workplace skills. That is, can this person read the job descriptions, contracts, any training materials that's being given? So can this person read and understand those things? These 2 are easier things. The third one is slightly the hardest one again in this, would be general reading, which includes again a bit complex structure, pick from the journals, books and magazines, which will be a little bit harder to read, but not as hard as academic, but closest to the academic that you can see. But on the whole, the general readings are much easier, very easy to comprehend and answer. The same number of questions, same number of minutes, but as I said, you'll have more passages that will be covering that part, and no negative marking. The types are, again, there are 14-15 types of questions that you will see. Some of them will pick. It's not that you will see all the types in your exam. It's a mix of multiple types, but you don't know which you are going to get. So how do they convert them into bands, right? In the academic, as I said, it's a hard thing relatively. You can get 9 out of 9 even if you get 39 or 40. The same as listening. You will get 8.5 if you get 37 or 38 correct. If you get 35 or 36 correct, you will get 8, etc. It's very similar to the listening. But when you see the general training reading, right, you see that you will get 9 if you get each and everything correct. Even if you get 1 wrong, that is you got 39, you will be slided to 8.5. Because as I said, it's an easier one to score. Compare this. To get a 7 in reading of academic, you need to get 30 correct. To get a 7 in general, you need to get 34 correct. So that's obviously that's how they are correlating it, that it's relatively easier because the material is easy to read. So the general training is converted into slightly higher band if you get more and more number of questions correct. But whatever it is, this is what the conversion chart is. You need to get the required number of questions correct to get the required band in this particular section. Now the third section is the writing section. So again in the writing there will be two tasks. Okay, you're supposed to write two essays or two tasks basically. The second one is common in both academic and general. The first one is what you see a difference. So let's understand this. 60 minutes, you're supposed to write two tasks. What is the task one? Task one is basically they'll give you some visual information. This is for academic people, like a bar graph, a pie chart, a table, a line graph, etc. You need to describe this in 150 words. Right, so you say that the population chart of a particular country, you say it has been increasing at a rate of 10%, it has been increasing at an alarming pace, etc., etc. You try to describe ups, downs, the key points and all of that. They expect you to spend 20 minutes. There's no sectional time limit in this. The two tasks you can do in 60 minutes. Can I spend 22 minutes here? Absolutely. But their recommendation is to do 20. We also recommend that because the tasks have their individual weight. So they'll give more weight to task 2. So it's better that you put more time into this. In task 2, they respond to point of your argument or a problem. For example, that is like they'll give an argument and you have to support, or like there are 7-8 types of essays. You have to understand what's being asked and accordingly write the structure of the essay. For example, they'll tell you that in some countries people believe that students should work before they join the university, so that they get that experience of working, understanding the hardships in life, etc., etc. Do you agree with it or not? That's a topic that they give. So here you have to argue in favor, against, and sort of give a conclusion. So you're supposed to write a 250-word essay in 40 minutes. Right, so that's how they're asking you to do this. Two tasks and you will be graded on that. I'll tell you how you will be graded. If you're taking a paper based, you're supposed to write with your hand. If it's a computer based, you will be typing it. That's a very simple thing. When it comes to the general training, it's same for the tasks too. It's the same thing as I said. But the first task is a letter. There are three types of letters: formal, semi-formal, and informal. Formal is like you're writing to your boss asking for a leave. A very typical example I'm giving. The semi-formal is like you're reaching out to some library, a local library, asking for some subscription details or something. So you don't know them well, but it's not again a complete formal setup like a company or an office. The third type is you're writing to your friend or your family asking about something maybe, right? So that's how the three types are there. So you need to get a practice of how I need to start, the salutation, the conclusion, what should be the structure of the letter. So that is how you're going to attack this particular task. And even the academic task one, there are like 7-8 types. You see bar graph, line graph, etc. You need to learn certain vocabulary on all, so that you throw them the increasing, decreasing, all of that, so that you actually write a better essay to get a better scoring for that. Right, the task is the same for both. Again, you just have to write an essay. So how do you get graded on it? So there are 4 parameters. You can search for yourself if you want to know more. They're called IELTS writing band descriptors. You can search it. There's a PDF. Official IELTS released that. You call them band descriptors, writing band descriptors, speaking band descriptors, etc. You will find how they judge all of these 4 parameters and how they give bands. So the first band is the parameter is the task achievement or task response. This is fundamentally, did this guy write the number of words that we've asked to 150 to 50 words? Did he stick to the topic that is being given? If I am asking about working before university, if you're going on and on about people should work after their education, this, that, and all of that, it's an irrelevant thing. The topic was on a different topic and you're going in a different dimension. So that way you are not going to get a good score. The relevance of the topic or your essay based on the topic given. Are you writing the number of words given? Did you interpret the graph correctly? Let's say if the graph is saying an incremental way, you're understanding that it is going down and down, you're obviously doing it in the wrong way. So all of these parameters will give you the first one, the task achievement or the task response. The second one is your coherence and cohesion. That is how well you have structured your thoughts. There should be a fluency, there should be a connection. If someone is reading, they should feel that this a person has written which looks very logical. Okay, you have talked about some advantages first. Then in the next paragraph, you talked about disadvantage. You can't write one advantage, then disadvantage, again advantage, disadvantage, and you just mix things and write whatever comes to your mind. You need to structure them. That is where the bands actually come into play if you practice more, right? That is, get a structure, different types of essays, get a structure to your thought process and write it so that it looks very coherent, and also there's a good cohesion when someone is reading it. So that's also make it very important. The next part is the lexical resource, which is basically vocab. If you use the same word decreasing again and again, nothing great in your vocabulary, the range of words you're choosing and all, right? Increasing. So that way, great, instead of the stupendous, marvelous, right? Things like this, you just have to keep changing things, try to show your vocabulary skills. That's why people by heart certain words based on the context and try to use it, so that they at least do a little bit better in that lexical part. The final part is a grammar part. So are you doing the tenses correctly? Are you following the subject verb agreement, the basic rules, the prepositions and all of that? And are you doing compounds and complex sentences, right? That is longer sentences using two independent clauses, or maybe using conjunctions, etc., so that people actually get a good. This is again a very important tip that you can do, even if your writing skills are good, but if you're writing very short sentences, you will not get a great score. My suggestion is to write longer sentences with an average of 15 to 18 words per sentence. And that way you're going to get a good relatively better score for the same essay that you're writing. So again, they look at the grammar part, and how do they grade? Let's say they look at each element. Okay, they've seen an essay, they gave 7 here, 8 here, poor vocab, maybe great grammar, so I'll give like this. Ultimately my overall is 7 plus 8 plus 6 plus 8 by 4, which is what, 29 by 4, which is going to be like 7.25. This is what they get for writing. I mean, they would obviously round it up to 7 or 7.25, round it up to 7.5. So that's how they do for two essays, then add it and together you'll get your overall score. But individual bands are, the descriptors are given, parameters are given, and then they do the average. Speaking is pretty similar. They have three parts. The first part is basically the examiner will ask you simple general questions. That is like, do you like music? What kind of music do you like? Have you ever learned a musical instrument? Or maybe they could ask about dance, could ask about your family, your travel, your hobbies. So they'll be just asking you some questions, very generic questions. You don't have to be having a lot of general knowledge or something. It's about your life, about things that you know, because the goal here is to assess your communication skills, rather your speaking skills, not about your knowledge. You don't need to be like like the one who's going to win $1 million in who wants to be a millionaire, KBC contest, right? So that's not what they test. Very basic stuff. It goes on like 7 questions, 30-second answers you give. It goes for 4 to 5 minutes. Then there will be second part, which is a cue card thing. So you'll be picking up a card randomly which have different topics. Then you will see the topic, you will be given a minute to prepare, and then you will be talking about for 2 minutes. So who is your role model, or maybe your favorite travel destination, your favorite food, how do you make it, anything. So you just have to talk about it for 2 minutes. This is again about your personal life, nothing like that you need to know anything general knowledge as such. Then there will be third round, which is the follow-up round, which is that, okay, you've spoken about your favorite food. Maybe they talk about, okay, how does it compare to some other cuisines? Do you like it, maybe done more spicy, whatever. They keep asking you some questions based on what you've talked. Again, this is to check, can you understand the conversation, and can you add or can you contribute in the right way. So what do they look in this overall thing? It's almost a 15-minute an average, the duration for your speaking round. They check these four things: fluency and coherence. That is, does this person stutter, like a lot of ahs and oohs? When you talk, right, you give ah, ooh, and give breaks, too much of break. So break is good, you need to give break ideally, but you should not give too long, and you should not have a stuttering like I want to say something. This one sort of makes them feel you do not have the fluency. And coherence also comes with respect to your thoughts. You should talk in a way where it looks like a smooth sail of the ideas that you're trying to express. Shouldn't happen some random thoughts are just put up in one place. The second part is your vocab again. How wide you use your vocabulary. Again, the same example, like you're talking about an apartment, then you can talk about high-rise buildings, multi-story buildings, apartments, flats, whatever. Use different words to make them feel that you have a good vocabulary range, etc., etc. The third part is about your grammar. Same logic, you have to speak grammatically correct. Your sentences have to make sense. The tenses, the subject verb agreement, prepositions, all of that. And finally, your pronunciation, right? How well you pronounce the words. That also matters a lot. Accent is not penalized here because all of us have accents. They do not bother about that a lot. But pronunciation is different from accent. You are bound to have the words being pronounced in the right way so that they feel that they can understand, or any other native speaker or someone else in the foreign land can understand what you're talking. Based on how well you pronounce the words, you're going to get that particular score. Again, the same thing, like let's say they give you 8, 6, and 9, and then they give you 5 here because you've done a poor performance in the pronunciation. So they will do a simple average. It will be what, 28 by 4, which is 7 is your speaking score. That's how you'll get the speaking score. Right? So I'll move to the next one. Before that, there's one question that has popped up. I'll just take it up. So, what is the maximum number of attempts allowed for IELTS? There is no limit for that. You can attempt as many as you want, but there will be a limit after you attempt once. You need to take a break for a few days. You can't immediately book it, but obviously that doesn't happen because you don't get a slot immediately. But otherwise, there is no limit on that. I have seen people who have done even 8, 9 times. Ideally, it shouldn't happen that way, but some people, especially the immigration people, really struggle to get 7.5 and 8, because of which they have to do it lot many times, right? But yeah, there's no limit on the number of times you can take this thing. So let's get to the next topic, which is, can I prepare for IELTS on my own? So I see this lot, frequently seen as a question or a thought that students have, right? I will tell you the answer for this is yes and no. It's IELTS is easier exam for some. IELTS is not an easy exam for some, and it depends on your skill set and what's your desired band score. If you're someone who's only looking at a 6.5, I would say it's easy to get. If you're looking at 7.5, it's definitely not an easy thing to do. If you're looking at 8 and above, then obviously it's a big challenge that you have to really buckle up and do work for that. So before I get into this further, tell me, what do you think is the world's average IELTS score? Right, I have the average score for academic and general separately. That's how the charts are. This is the official data I picked up from the IELTS website. What do you think is the average IELTS academic score and average IELTS, IELTS academic score? And okay, I'll come to that, Nitisha. I'll just go back again. So let me first answer a question, then I'll ask you this. So how do you get bands, right? So the listening and reading is pretty straightforward. The number of questions you got correct, straight away translated. But when it comes to writing and speaking, they will give you the scores for each parameter. So as I was showing for speaking, right, let's say you spoke, people have seen your performance. The examiner has given, hey, this student has a good fluency and coherence, so I am happy to give her 8. But the student used the same words again and again, a very basic vocabulary, it was not having a diverse range and all of that, so maybe they might give you a 6 on that. Then they saw your grammar structure, the sentence structuring, the tenses, the subject verb agreement, the basic usage of sentences and all. They liked it and maybe they might give you a 7. Okay, and pronunciation, they might have felt you're doing fine. There are a few things where you have done mistakes and few things that have done good, so they will give you again a 7. So ultimately, how do I get my speaking band? They will add all 4. It's 8 plus 6 plus 7 plus 7. Because there are 4 parameters, I divide by 4. So it will be how much? 28 by 4, which is 7. Right? Similarly, you do for writing also, but because there are 2 tasks in writing, you will get something for task 1 and task 2, and then they give higher weightage for task 2 and they will get your overall writing thing. Again, they do a weighted average for that. There's another step that they do. And how do I get my overall thing, right? Let's say there's a student who might have heard that they got 7 in reading, 8 in the listening, and 6 in writing, and speaking also 6. So how do I get the overall thing? Add all 4. Same thing, 7 plus 8 plus 6 plus 6 by 4. 15, then what, 27 by 4, which is going to be 6.75. This will be rounded off to 7. 6.7, 6.74, 6.65 to 6.5. They will be moving it to the closest half bands. 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5. If you get 7.25 to 7.49, you will be put to 7.5. Or maybe I should say this way. If you get 7.25 to 7.74, you will be finally getting 7.5, which is a bit sad, but that's how it is, right? So you could be a lucky one if you're here, it could be an unlucky one if you're here, but that's how this is gonna work, right? So I hope I could answer it. So coming back to this one, I hope, Nitisha, I was able to answer your question. So let's get to the next one, right? So what was my question? I was asking you, what do you think is the average, the IELTS score? So I think Celine believes it's 7.57 general, and San also believes it's 7 for general. Okay, what else? I would want to hear at least 4 5 more answers. Give it a shot. No, I mean, there's nothing wrong or right in this, but it's good if you give it a shot. And if you get lucky, maybe you might get lucky in life also. Let's see. Oh my god, guys, make me feel very bad. Just let me have a feeling that I'm talking to humans on the other side and they are getting something good out of this. No, no one is willing to do that. Okay. Celine, you are kind that you are doing for both. I really appreciate your kindness. Thanks a lot. But others, hmm. Thanks for that, San. That makes me feel good. But I would be very happy to see more responses. But anyways, so this is the figures that we have. These are the figures that we have in the based on the official website rather. So what is the, though I don't know for what purpose they have classified as gender, male and female. Maybe they are doing some analysis on that. But if you see academic overall across the world, this is 2019 data. You can go to the website IELTS.org, the official website where they have talked about research and the performance of the test. So you can see the statistics. The overall average is coming out to be 6 to 6.1 in academic. And in general, it is coming out to be 6.5 to 6.6. Right, these are the figures that you see across the world. Now let me talk about Indian average, which is pretty much on the same lines. Okay, this country wise, so 6.1 is the overall academic average IELTS score based on 2019 Indian test takers. In a year, generally 3 million people take IELTS. Approximately 3 lakh people take IELTS in India. So I think the average of all of that is coming out to be 6.1. As expected, people find the listening the easiest, right, and the hardest would be the writing. You can see the scores. Even in the general training, you see that right, 7.1 is the listening, the easiest, and the writing is the hardest to score, with highest and the lowest across. So 6.7 in general and 6.1 in academic is what we see on average. So I'll just go a bit ahead and jump and tell you this also. What do you think is a good score? For me personally, if you're an academic student, my suggestion would be to look at least 6.5. This is like the bare minimum. I mean, at least 7 and above is what I would be very happy about, but 6.5 should be a bare minimum target. Otherwise, I'm really sorry, I would say you are not doing the right things in life. Okay, if you're not aiming for it, forget about getting it, but I'm talking more about aim, right? At least the perspective you should have. The other side, the general training, I don't need to say anything. I think the immigration policies, or rather the scoring points, all of that, 7.5 and above is very much required, right? You have to get 7.58 in your IELTS score to have a good chance of the PR and for Canada, Australia. So how many people do get 7 and above in academic, right? 7 and above. If you see again, they have another sheet for that. They talked about the country wise the performance. You will see that hardly there are some 29% of people who are scoring 7 and above in academic. And if you take even the 6.5, you might get some 45% or something, right? There are hardly 30%. For general, I would say 7.5 and above, it's less 19% of people. That is only 20% of the people are every 100 people out of every 100 people that are taking general training test, only 20 of them, or 19 of them to be precise, are getting 7.5, 8 and 8.5. No one is getting 9. In case of India, no one is getting 8.5 also in academic. Only 8 is the highest in academic. 2% of people are getting it. But 7, 7.5, 8 altogether it's around 29%. So I'll tell you, if it was so easy, ideally everyone is getting, or at least most of the people should be getting 7.5s and 7 and above in the perspective respective thing, right? So if you talk about 6, I think more than 60 to 70% of people are getting 6 and above. That's there, but then that's not what your target score is. That's not what you should be aiming at. So for that reason, I'm telling you, it's not easy exam for each and everyone. It all depends on what's your current ability and where you want to arrive at. What's your final destination you're looking at? Is it 7, 7.5, 8, whatever the reason be, and accordingly you need to undergo that effort to transition or move in that direction. Why I'm telling you all of this is this, okay? I mean, obviously there's something that I would definitely say that we are also offering training on all of that, but forget about that. Yes, we are doing it, we are also in that business, I'm not denying, but I feel very bad when I see students who waste 14,000. Okay, when I say waste, some people literally waste. Okay, that is, they don't even care about the pattern, format, anything. They think, I've heard from my friend, it's so easy, I just walk into the exam, I pay it, I walk in, and then they come back with 5.5 and 6, which means they're at a relatively decent starting point. They could have actually put effort to come to close to 7, but they didn't do that. What they did was they heard from their friend, but what did his or her friend do? We don't know. They might be good with their language skills. Maybe they've done few mock tests. So don't underestimate it. That's the only thing I'm telling. And otherwise, I also see some kind of people who overestimate it also. They feel, no, I can't do IELTS, I can't do anything. My skills are very weak and all. I'll tell you, it's not that you have to be Shakespeare or something to get 7, 7.5. Okay. There are few tips and tricks people follow with not so good with their English language can still get to 7, 7.5. It takes the persistence, it takes the effort. That's the only thing. Don't overestimate and don't underestimate. Understand where you stand and see what is the journey you need to undergo. So if you ask me, shifting or improving a half to one band can be done with almost 70 to 80 hours of work. That is, you get some training for 20, 30 hours, do mock tests, analyze your weak areas, focus on it, and then put an effort. I have seen students improving by half to one band. So that is where what we do is that we make people take the diagnostic test. So we got a 100 rupee test. That's a simple 100 rupee test, which is a 1.5 hour, half the actual IELTS test. So only 20 listening questions, 20 reading questions. You'll be writing one essay and you'll be speaking on one topic. You'll be recording your voice into the system that we give. So basically our trainer will then have a call with you. It's for both general and academic. We have a diagnostic test. You can take the test, which is just a 100 rupee test. But there's a bonus as well that we're giving this time, that we have demo classes. If you attend the demo, you're going to get a coupon code which will give this for free. The diagnostic test that is being given by us, which is worth 100 rupees in our website, you will get a special coupon code if you attend the demo. That will be revealed in the demo classes itself. So you can take it. So why should I take this test? I tell you, again, it's a choice. But this test will be a 1.5 hour test, which is a good replica of the actual IELTS test. We did pick the questions from the British Council, which is the company which conducts the IELTS. They have put a sample paper. We have picked the official questions only. I'm not saying I know the questions that will be asked in the exams that are there put up for the public use. We have used those questions only. So this is for people who have not taken this particular questions. They can try them. Then they get a 30-minute call with our expert. You do your writing, you do your speaking, listening and reading. She will tell, the other trainer will tell you what's your current ability. Let's say you're at a 7. You're doing good with your listening, reading. Maybe you have a little bit of problem in your writing or speaking. Then you will know how to travel to the next point, which is 7.5 and 8. So that is how you need to understand, where am I struggling with, what are the things that I can do to improve. That is the journey you need to chalk and accordingly prepare. If you're at a 6 or 5.5, you have a long way to go. Accept it and do it. You can't be in that ignorance, or rather you just don't want to know the reality forever. Then trust me, you're just going to waste your 14,000. So it's worth that you take the test. If you're interested, you can pay 100. Otherwise, you can attend our demo and get the special coupon code. And you can take this test for free. We're just going to give you a 30-minute call with our trainer, where he or she will help you out understanding what you have done, how well you have done, what's your band you are going to get, and how much you can improve. Right? That's what we're going to tell. So based on which we also provide courses for students for like proper group training, which a batch of 3-4 people only. Small batches are a personalized training. We give only mock tests also. Some of you are good only for mock. You don't need the entire course. You might need to know the tips and tricks to improve that additional band, or maybe you're struggling with only writing or speaking. So we do provide that. So that's what we tell our students. If they're interested to take a course, we ask them to first take a diagnostic, see how good you have done, know the reality, see where you can improve, and see if we can help. Then we can definitely help you out if you believe that we can help you in that journey. You don't have to take the entire course, some of you, but some of you might really need to do a lot of effort to grow. So you have to understand, accept the reality, and keep working towards the improvement. Right, so that's what I wanted to say. So again, if you're interested, you can attend the demo. That will be there. I'll talk about that in the end for 1 minute. You can get a coupon code that gives the test for free. So what are the resources that I can use for my preparation, right? So Celine, I would say for PhD also it will be more or less the same. 6.57 is what universities ask for. For academic, 6.57 would general cutoffs be, but I'll tell you, getting a 7 versus 8 can actually make a difference. But for PhD, the approach is slightly different. So I would say higher IELTS score would definitely help. But definitely you have to have good research proposal, research background, academic profile, a lot more factors that are also very important. But yeah. So now we have understood the exam, how the pattern is and all of that. Now I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on the resources. If there is something that we would recommend as the best source for your mock test, that will be the IELTS Cambridge official mock test. Cambridge is the company which sets the IELTS papers. They release the books almost every 6 months or something. They've released 15 editions in the last 15-20 years. So almost one edition a year, I think, on average. You can find these PDFs, you can buy them. They have 4 mock tests in each book. So we believe that they can give you a best feel of the actual exam, right? So that way you can practice mock test. But what I'll also tell you, that two things that we personally believe and do it. Number one, in these mocks you can check your reading and listening. Great, you can see your scores, but what do you do with the writing and speaking? Okay, you have written an essay. Who is going to assess your performance? Who is going to tell you where you are struggling? That is where speaking, how do you assess yourself? They don't have any speaking in it. They'll give some questions, type of questions that you'll get. So that is where we believe it will help you to take a help of an expert who can help you in assessing your writing, telling your improvement, scope for improvement, etc. and speaking also. The second thing, we personally believe that the thing you see in IELTS Cambridge ones, right? For example, the listening, we believe you should always have a level above the actual exam when you practice, so that you actually find the exam easier. So what we do, we intentionally pick reading questions which are slightly harder, right? Sometimes we do some mocks in our thing, and listening also we suggest our students, we keep some of the mocks with the audio clips slightly faster. They play at to 1.2 1.25x, because if you get used to slightly difficult things, the actual ones look way easier. That doesn't mean you work too hard once, but we just try to go a little bit above the actual exam. So that's what we also do in our mock test. But these are a very good set of books for you to practice and take mock tests. The IELTS Cambridge official mocks you can get. What about the other resources? Some of the favorite ones that we sort of recommend our students is IELTS List is a very good trainer. So they have some paid stuff also, but they have a lot of free articles they have written about writing, speaking, how do you do reading, listening. So it will be helpful for you to look at those websites, read some articles, get some practice and all. Even the IELTS Mentor, IELTS Advantage has some good questions and some tips. So more like tips that you can get by reading the articles. These are some of the finest mentors you can see and get some tips, to do your own preparation if you're looking at self preparation. So these are the resources that you can use to get. But again, as I said, writing the structures and all, you need to figure out or maybe get some training. You don't find that easily outside, but the speaking also support that you get. But if you want to do your own preparation, I think these are some of the best you can pick from for your practice. So the last topic we're going to do before we get into Q&A. So the three FAQs I said I'll answer. Number one, IDP versus British Council. Which one is easier? So if you don't know what these are by any chance, I'll tell you. IELTS is a brand. It's a company which is owned, or a brand owned by these three companies. So Cambridge Assessment English is basically the one which sets the questions. And IDP and British Council are the companies which run the franchises, test centers across the world. So they take care of the operations. So how do you get the test set, right? Hire the examiners, give them some frameworks, right? Make the people book the slots, do the operations. All of this is taken by them. Cambridge doesn't get involved in that. They will only set the questions and keep giving it to these people. If you write a test, be it in IDP or British Council on a particular day, let's say 10th of Jan, the morning slot, the questions will be exactly same. There won't be any difference in the questions. Number one. Number two, all the examiners that are evaluating, okay, listening and reading is a computer based, so okay, you're getting the same questions, fine. But you know what? I've heard that people are lenient in IDP or British Council for writing and speaking, because ultimately these are evaluated by a human. So if you speak to an examiner, they will give a 7 or 6.5. So I heard someone is lenient over the other. I'll tell you, no one will do that intentionally. That is, these companies will not do that for their benefit or something. These guys own it, co-own it. If someone is doing something like that, messing it up, the other one will definitely complain, and they are working together, so they will never do something of that sort. There are some frameworks. What I can tell you is that every human is an individual human being with a different set of emotions. Some people might be kind enough to say, okay, this student can be given 7. The same person, if being evaluated by someone else, might be given 7.5 or 6.5. A difference of 0.5 might happen depending on those, small amount of opinions everyone has. This is something a human based test. I would agree that those things can happen, but you don't expect a guy getting 7 British Council in IDP get 6, right? On that day the performance could be different, but ultimately you won't see much of a difference. So what I would recommend my students, are generally the people, if they ask me, is that try to look at the centers that are close to your home. It could be British Council or IDP. Check the ones which have a good infrastructure, which does not cause disturbance, right, which makes it easy for you to sit and concentrate on the exam. Go to centers before you book, so that you see the noises coming around, how good is the infrastructure and all of that, and then decide on it, rather than going with, someone said me British Council is lenient, IDP is lenient. Humans could be lenient, but how can you assure that you get the same examiner on that particular slot? That is something which is not in your hand. So I would not advocate anyone to go with this mindset that something is easier than the other. Rather focus on your fundamentals and try to do your best and take a best decision. Computer based versus paper based. So it's the same all. The speaking will be a face-to-face or with a video conferencing tool. The differences you see in both: listening, for example, you will be listening to audio clips. In paper based, you get 10 more minutes to transfer the answers, but doesn't mean you can listen to the audio clip again. So I don't see huge advantage with respect to that. But unless you're someone who would want to maybe not look at a screen and rather write on a book and all, that could be a reason that you might prefer paper based. Some people might have a better advantage with computer based as well. When it comes to reading, you will be given passages. In paper based, you can underline them, you can mark them, you can do whatever you want on the paper book as you wish. When it comes to computer based, there are few features like you can highlight something and all, but again, it won't be as comfortable as this, and some people can't read on the screen, some people prefer to read, whatever it is. So you have to understand what suits you. First and foremost, let me say this before I go into it: the paper on that particular day, be it computer or paper based, will be exactly the same. So again, there's nothing like easy or something. Which one might suit you is something you have to understand. Writing, you have to write with your hand. Here you type it, so maybe it could save you. Maybe some people are not used to typing, they might take long time. So again, it's a different I would tell you, as long as your writing is readable, not like a doctor who is writing a prescription, I think you will be fine. You don't have to worry about it being be a proper cursive, where you don't get anything like this Apsara pencil ad, no extra marks for good handwriting. You won't really get that thing happening. As long as it's a readable thing, I think you will do fine. If it's really really bad, maybe you can really look at taking a computer based test, if that's the point you're considering. Results available quickly in the computer based, you'll get very fast. If time is of an essence, maybe you might have to take computer based. Other thing is that availability wise, you get computer based almost every day in a week, like 5 days in a week, whereas paper based happens only once a week on average. 48 times in a year, that's basically once a week. So you have to be way advanced and try to book, and do it to get a paper based. Computer based, you can get it very easily. So there's no difference in terms of questions and difficulties and all, as I said. So what we tell our students is, for example, in our mocks, we give few paper based as well as computer based. We have both. So people can decide, try both, and then understand what suits them better. Because unless you try, you don't know what suits you better, right? So we push people to take both. Our students, we give both the mocks in our course, and then they can decide which one suits them, and accordingly they can take a call. So what I would also recommend you is, if you are confused, maybe give a shot. Try to take one paper based, one computer based at least, and try to see what is suiting you better, what is maximizing your performance, and accordingly take a call. So IELTS indicator test, the last one I'm going to talk about. It's an online test that can be taken from comfort of your home. They've started in the COVID. It tests the same 4 things: listening, reading, writing, speaking. It's basically a replacement for academic tests, not the general training. Because they didn't want the people to miss out an opportunity during the COVID for the application admission cycles, they've gone ahead and released it. But the sad part is that it's only accepted by a small percentage of universities. Okay, I was checking it. IELTS, the one actual one that being conducted, is accepted by more than 4,000 universities in US, whereas the indicator test is accepted by only 450 universities approximately, which is like 10% of the overall thing. So in that way, I tell you, you are not really at a good position if you take this test. The centers have opened, the tests are happening normally. I don't see a reason for you to avoid this. Go ahead and take the test outside the actual center, so that the actual IELTS is accepted most widely, and you won't have any disadvantage with taking this. Right? That's what I would say about it. So now the floor is open for the questions. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. Before that, one thing I would say, that we have a couple of demo sessions if you're interested to take IELTS classes anywhere. So we do conduct our own classes. You can definitely attend to see what we can offer. So we have two slots: tomorrow morning 10 to 11 and day after tomorrow 8 to 9. You can attend anyone as you wish. You would have received mails with the link. Otherwise, you'll also get a mail right after the session with a link to register. If you're interested, you can definitely attend that. As I said, if you attend the demo, you will be getting a coupon which will help you get the 100 rupee waived off for our diagnostic test. So basically, you're getting it for free. Right, so that's a benefit that we're offering. So yes, this us GT Cube. If you like us, do follow us. We'll come with more content, could help you in your IELTS, the overall admission process, and other stuff. And thanks a lot. And so I'll keep the session open for your questions. You can post your questions, anything that you want to know. I'm more than happy to answer and clear your queries. So Ashita, I would say it all depends on what's your desired score and where you stand, right? A half to one band of improvement, I would say, will happen if you put 60 to 80 hours of effort. So if you're already at, let's say, 6 band, I think you should be targeting 7 and 7.5 by putting 70, 80 to 100 hours of effort. I would suggest you to maximize your IELTS score. and then maybe just try to get. So my recommendation is try to get 100 hours is a very good effort to put, but again it depends on what's your current starting point. But I think based on what the way you've written, I think you can definitely do a good job. Definitely try to do that. So reading is difficult for you, Mandeep. So I remember you saying that you're looking for academic. The way you can do is start reading reading materials from different topics, like the Economist, the, the Wall Street Journal of Asia. Start building that habit. It doesn't happen overnight. Once you start building the habit of reading, right, then automatically you will find the actual reading easy. Plus then you need to start practicing the different types of questions, right? That's another thing you need to do. So reading not just the IELTS material as such, but anything of a good quality material would definitely improve your reading. It's a journey that you have to undergo, but trust me, you need to do that because you're planning to do your higher studies. You're planning to work in a country where English is the communication. So your reading skills, your writing skills, everything is important. So work on your long-term change as well. Don't let it be like, okay, 1 month I'll do something, get a score, and I'll forget everything. That's not how it works, right? For writing also, it's all about, I will tell you, see, one way is always improving your fundamentals, okay? That is getting good structure, get grammar skills, vocabulary and all. The other way to improve on the short term is to get some shortcuts. Like for example, our writing trainer does this, where gives the writing templates. There are 7 8 essay types. So she does train, this is how you structure your essay. Then she makes you work on 4 5 tasks so that you get used to those templates. Everyone does that in their own style. Everyone has their own pedagogy style. But I tell you, that's one way people do that, is don't try to do something from scratch on your own. Rather follow a particular template so that you don't have to, then you get a good cohesion and coherence because the structure has already been set, and you're also not going to go outside the topic if you think properly with the structured mindset. Then if you learn some words, right, by heart certain words with the topics that could be coming up, then you will also write some good, decreasing, increasing, depreciating. There are certain words you can keep using synonyms and all. So there are some tips and tricks people use to improve that half and one band, getting the structures and all of that. Practice is the way I would tell. Getting some structured approach to your work and all, and working hard is the way to improve. If I want to apply for September intake, then would be ideal time to take IELTS so that I won't be too late. Rishabh, which country are you looking at? I don't know, but I think September you say it could be for Australia, it could be for UK. I'm assuming it could be mostly for UK. Definitely, I would say good time is to be ready by February and March. So it's definitely better for you to how do I put it? See, I'll tell you, IELTS is valid for 2 years anyway. So better you close it earlier and you apply earlier for the universities. It's better you to get a good admit and a chance of getting a scholarship. Because the deadline is June or July. Don't wait till June. Try to get rid of all the things and apply early so that you get admit early and you get closed with that. I don't know why people understand. Maybe it's a human psychology. We wait till we see the deadline coming up and then we start rushing up things. And always better to have some buffer time so that you do things at a good pace and optimize your efforts and do a best outcome. uh, Thanks a lot, Celine. I really appreciate. It makes me feel happy to get some positive feedback. If there's something that we can add, we can improve, definitely more than happy to hear as well. uh, Tips for giving titles to passage reading. Dhruv, I will tell you, attend the demo. You can ask this questions to our trainer directly. So maybe she'll help you with a couple of examples also. Right now, I don't have any example to show here, but I think that's the way I can tell you. Tips on reading and writing and to improve vocabulary. Nicha, I'll also tell you the same thing, because tomorrow and after tomorrow's demo session that we have, the trainer will talk about the writing and the speaking section specifically. And if you have anything specifically you want to know on reading also, you can definitely ask her and get. Vocabulary, I'll tell you, see, one long way is to start reading more, and maybe I always recommend people to read a book that I love a lot for vocabulary called Word Power Made Easy by Norman Lewis. Okay, that's my favorite book, okay, but it's a long way. In terms of effort, it takes you almost like 40 I would say 40 50 hours of effort to read. But trust me, this is going to help you forever. I mean, that's how I started improving my vocabulary. So if people are interested on a serious level, Word Power Made Easy is a great book to work on, to improve your vocabulary. Topic vocabulary, there are certain set of topics they ask in the IELTS. They know it, the writing task and speaking task. They just keep by hearting certain words, and hopefully that day it works out in few sections and they do a better job. That's a shortcut. I is hoping that it will work, but it does work to a good extent. But again, it's an easier route. Again, it all depends on what's your easier and what's your hard route. So requirement, uh, the requirement for higher bands for medical and paramedical professionals looking for PR. See, I tell you, I think already 7.58 itself is a very high band requirement, okay? So I don't see there's being a very specific thing. But to be frank, as I told you, I'm not an expert in the immigration case. For certain domains, it could be relatively more tougher to get in because of the number of applications they're getting and the number of requirements they have. But I'll tell you, 7.5 to 8 is the bare minimum you should look for your IELTS. And I think that itself is a big challenge to achieve. I don't know if you need to have more than that. Personally, I have not heard anything specifically for this paramedical or medical professionals, but 7.5 to 8 is already a challenging the score to look at. I think that's a good score to aim and try to achieve the score. But maybe I'm not 100% sure on a paramedical specific thing that you talked, because I have not dealt with something of that sort, so I think I might not give you 100% clear answer on that. But what I would tell you is 7.5 and above is already required. That itself is a big challenge. So you getting 7.58 itself is a good enough score to apply for the PR. Any more questions before we end? Maybe I'll take a couple more if you have, otherwise I'll end the session. Anything on the preparation, as in like reading, writing and all, how to do all, you can actually attend the session. And most importantly, we are giving a free coupon if you attend the demos, where you get a diagnostic test and you'll get a personal call with our trainer, where you can actually get more time with her to understand where you can improve in the reading, writing, speaking, right? Trust me, make use of this if you're really interested on this, right? That's what I strongly would say. Again, it does take 1.5 hours of effort, but if you're serious about it, I think we are definitely keeping it open for the first time, the diagnostic test, but we want to see, right, how the response would be. So if you are interested, you can definitely make use of it by attending the demo. So Dhruv, that's how do I put it? I cannot say it with 100% confidence, but a lot of people do believe in that, and I would tell you there's a merit in it. I would say there's a merit in it. I would not say that you would definitely get from that, but there's a good chance. But I'll tell you, on the other side, even if it doesn't come, the probability of topic being very similar to what you have practiced is very high. Okay, so what does that mean? You would have done so much of practice in certain topics by practicing marker. In a way, you are fundamentally getting used to sort of topic and learn some vocabulary for that. When you get a new question, it won't be too drastically different. That way, students will get benefit. So I would not make a claim because I cannot say 100% confidently, but there is a merit in doing that. That's what I can tell you. But then I'll also tell you, it's don't look it that way that you will get. So come out of the mindset that I need to practice certain periods where questions will come in the exam in the same way. Rather, get your skills improved and get used to certain things so that you do well in the actual exam. I think that's what I would recommend, and that's what I would ask anyone to look at. Yes, the demo link we have already shared, but I think you'll also get another mail now at 9 o'clock. Our team would send a mail again with the link to attend the demo. You'll also get a message like how you would have received a message for WhatsApp, for the webinar. So you don't have to worry about that. So 10 o'clock tomorrow, and the other one is on Monday 11. Depending on your suitable time, you can attend it. Any more questions? Last question. Maybe 2 questions are done, is it? Thanks a lot, Nishi. Thanks a lot for the feedback. Great. So I'll end the session, guys. Thanks a lot. Wish you all the best. Hope it was a very useful and an engaging session. For me, it would have been better if it was a little bit more engaging. Sorry, but it would have been more fun if people were a little bit more engaging. But otherwise, I think it was a great thing. So hope I could add value. The promise that we gave, I hope we could stick to that. So all the best and see you. Good night.